Hi, and welcome to English-Fabule. Are you learning English? Great. Let's learn English with a very interesting story. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment. Let's get started.
It was late December in the year 2025. The air was heavy with worry around the world. Tensions were very high between Washington, D.C., the capital of the United States, and Beijing, the capital of China. Just days before, the United States approved a huge $10 billion arms package for Taiwan. This was a record-breaking sale of advanced weapons. The whole world watched closely, waiting for China's official response. China had always stated that Taiwan was a core interest, calling it an inseparable part of its own territory. Beijing had warned for a long time of a first red line that must not be crossed. Now, many observers believed that the U.S. arms deal had clearly crossed this very important line. China had promised serious consequences, and that the United States would pay the price if this happened. What those specific consequences would be was a big, open question for everyone. Around the globe, intelligence agencies and financial markets felt the deep tension. Businesses and governments everywhere braced for an unprecedented move from China. The atmosphere was thick with anticipation. It truly felt like the entire world was holding its breath, waiting for something significant to happen. Everyone knew this was not just a small diplomatic argument. The countdown began for an official announcement. All eyes were fixed on China's Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Minutes felt like hours as people waited for the news to break. News channels cleared their schedules, and online feeds updated constantly. The world waited, glued to screens. Finally, a spokesperson walked slowly to the podium, facing a room full of cameras. This was it. China's long-awaited answer was coming. The retaliation was imminent, meaning it would happen any second now. But no one knew how severe it would be. Would it be a small, symbolic gesture, or would it be a move that truly shook global stability? The uncertainty hung heavy in the air, creating a powerful sense of dread and expectation. 2. The Big Gun Sale. The Big Gun Sale was the main reason for the trouble. Just a week before China's announcement, the United States approved a huge arms package for Taiwan. It was worth more than $10 billion. Many people said it was one of the biggest arms deals ever for the island. This package included powerful artillery systems and rocket launchers. It also had other modern weapons. These arms were meant to help Taiwan protect itself. They would make Taiwan's defense stronger against any attack. For China, Taiwan is very important. China sees Taiwan as part of its own land. It calls Taiwan its core interest and its first red line. China has said it can use force to bring Taiwan back. But Taiwan sees itself as separate. It has its own government and way of life. Taiwan is happy for the United States to help with its defense. The United States agrees to help Taiwan. U.S. law, called the Taiwan Relations Act, says it must provide Taiwan with weapons to defend itself. This is to keep peace in the area. So when this big arms deal was made, China saw it as a direct challenge. It was not just about buying and selling weapons. China believed the U.S. was ignoring its wishes and challenging its power over Taiwan. The deal was now final, and the weapons were being made. The U.S. had clearly made its move. China had promised that those who helped Taiwan would pay the price. Everyone now waited to see how China would make them pay. 3. The blacklist. China finally gave its answer. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs announced its specific actions. It put 20 major U.S. defense companies on a special blacklist. 10 of their senior leaders were also named. This was China's direct response to the United States' large arms package for Taiwan, which was worth over $10 billion. China said this arms deal crossed its first red line. It meant the U.S. had gone too far. Among the big companies named was Northrop Grumman Systems Corporation. This company makes important aerospace and missile defense systems. Boeing's defense part, located in St. Louis, was also on the list. This targeted its military aircraft business, not its commercial airplanes. L3 Harris Maritime Services, which works on naval electronics, was another key company. These names made a big impact in the defense industry, but China also went after individuals. One surprising name was Palmer Luckey. He is the well-known founder of Anduril Industries, a newer defense technology company. Naming Mr. Luckey showed that China was not just targeting large, old corporations. It was also looking at individual leaders in modern defense technology. This made the situation feel more personal for many people. The full list of names was now public. This news spread quickly, causing shockwaves in both the defense and technology fields. But people quickly started to ask important questions. What exactly did being on this blacklist mean for these companies and individuals? Would these sanctions truly hurt them? Or were they simply a strong message without real power? What the sanctions mean. China's new sanctions have three main parts that tell us what they mean. First, there are asset freezes. This means if any of the 20 U.S. defense companies or 10 executives have money, land, or other valuable things in China, those assets are now frozen. They cannot be used or moved. However, many of these large U.S. defense companies do not hold many assets in China. They mostly sell weapons to the U.S. government and its allies, not to China itself. Second, there is a business ban. This rule says that Chinese companies and people are not allowed to do business with the sanctioned U.S. firms or individuals. This stops any new deals, investments, or work together. Even if these U.S. defense companies had little business in China before, this ban ensures no future economic ties can form. It sends a clear message to all Chinese businesses. Avoid working with these targets. Third, the 10 named executives face travel bans. This means they are not allowed to enter China for any reason. For people like Palmer Luckey, a well-known founder of a defense technology company, this is a very direct and personal impact. It stops them from attending conferences or doing business in China. So here is the puzzle. If these U.S. defense companies do not rely much on China for money, what is the real reason for these sanctions? The direct financial harm to them might be small, but China's goal is deeper and broader. By naming specific companies and, importantly, individual people, Beijing is sending a clear, personal warning. This action tells everyone that challenging China's first red line will have consequences, even if those are not always about immediate money loss. This was not the first time China has used such measures, but this round was their biggest move yet in this ongoing economic fight. A war of paper. The sanctions from China in late December 2025 showed a big increase in problems. These actions were not new. They are part of a long fight between the United States and China. This fight is about who will lead in technology and military power. Both countries have used these kinds of actions before. It is like a dangerous game where each side does something bad to the other. The United States has put rules on Chinese companies. These rules limit what Chinese companies can do in areas like phones, computer chips, and spy tools. The U.S. says these rules keep their country safe. China has also put rules on U.S. companies and leaders. These rules often come after the U.S. does something about Taiwan or stops China from getting important technologies. For example, in January 2024, China put smaller limits on some U.S. defense companies. This was also because of arms sales to Taiwan. But the new sanctions in December 2025 were bigger. More companies and more people were named. They were a direct answer to a very large sale of weapons to Taiwan. This shows a clear pattern. Each time one country acts, the other country often responds with a stronger action. It is like climbing a staircase, and each step pushes the two powerful nations further apart. These economic actions, like freezing money or stopping business, are more than just about money. They are a way for both countries to fight for power without using real weapons. They send strong messages. This economic war of paper is happening for everyone to see. But at the same time, a more direct and dangerous military problem is growing near Taiwan. Chinese military planes and ships are seen more often in the Taiwan Strait. How do these two conflicts, one with money and rules, the other with soldiers and weapons, make each other worse? 6. The corporate fallout. China's new rules did more than cause small money problems for American defense companies. The real effect was much bigger and spread wider than many first thought. This showed the true reason for China's actions. It was not just about stopping direct sales, which were already minimal. Instead, Beijing aimed to create problems in other, more indirect ways. First, the sanctions troubled global supply chains. Even if a U.S. defense company did not sell products in China, it often bought parts or software from global suppliers. Many of these suppliers also work with China. Now, these suppliers had to be careful. Working with a sanctioned U.S. company could cause trouble for them with China. This made global business harder and more complex. Second, investors worldwide began to worry. When one country sanctions companies from another, it makes investing riskier. People who put money into these defense firms saw new political problems. They worried about how these events would affect future plans and company value. This chilling effect meant less trust and more caution in global markets. Third, a legal mess started for many businesses. Companies had to check all their global connections. Could a Chinese partner still work with them without facing punishment? What about technologies used for both normal life and military needs? These dual-use technologies became very sensitive. Firms faced difficult choices and unclear rules. For the 10 high-ranking executives on the list, the problems were very personal. They could no longer travel to China. Any money or property they had in China was frozen. Their names became known, making them symbols in a big fight between two powerful nations. They were like pieces in a chess game, moved by forces much larger than themselves. Their careers and lives felt the direct impact of this global disagreement. The impact was clear. These companies and their leaders were caught in the middle. They faced a new kind of war, fought with rules and laws instead of weapons. Now everyone waited to see how the governments in Washington and Taipei would answer this economic attack on their defense industry. 7. The world watches. The world watched closely after China announced its sanctions. The United States government quickly spoke out. Officials repeated that the arms sale to Taiwan was important. They said it helped Taiwan defend itself, which kept peace in the region. This showed Washington would not back down. Taiwanese leaders also gave their firm answer. They openly welcomed the new weapons package. They said it made their island stronger. It helped them stand against China's increasing military pressure. Taiwan saw these new weapons as key to its safety. Both the U.S. and Taiwan made it clear they would not easily change their minds. This standoff made many other countries nervous. Nations in Europe and Asia faced a hard choice. They had to navigate a difficult path between the two big powers. China's sanctions warned that helping U.S. arms sales to Taiwan could have costs. The U.S. also warned its friends about using some Chinese technologies. This made things complex for allies trying to keep good relations and trade with both America and China. They had to walk a very careful line. Meanwhile, military activity around Taiwan grew. Chinese forces started more large drills near the island. Warplanes flew closer to Taiwan's air defense zone almost every day. Naval ships conducted regular patrols. These actions made the threat of real conflict feel much closer. For people in Taiwan, this constant show of force caused daily worry about their future and safety. Both China and the U.S. stood firm. Neither side showed signs of backing down. This made the situation very risky. Each new action, like a weapon sale, a drill, or a sanction, added more tension. It was like climbing a staircase of escalation towards a dangerous place. The world wondered what the next step in this rising tension would be. What further moves could either side make without starting an open conflict? 8. A new Cold War. The sanctions China put on American defense firms in late December 2025 marked a big change. This was not just about Taiwan.
It was part of a larger fight for power, technology, and military strength between the U.S. and China. These actions showed how far both countries are willing to go using money and rules as weapons against each other. The journey to this point started with the United States approving a large arms package for Taiwan. Soon after, China's Ministry of Foreign Affairs made a bold move. They blacklisted 20 U.S. defense companies and 10 senior executives. This meant freezing their assets in China and stopping Chinese groups from doing business with them. It also meant these executives could not enter China. Beijing said this arms deal crossed its first red line regarding Taiwan. This event goes beyond just one arms deal or one list of names. It shows a new kind of global rivalry. For many years, the U.S. and China worked closely together in business. But now, this era of open talks and shared trade is ending. Both sides are using rules and economic power more and more. They want to control new technologies like AI and space systems. This means trade, technology, and global friendships will change a lot. Many big questions are still open. Will China put sanctions on more companies or other types of businesses? Will they target companies outside the U.S. that help Taiwan? How will countries around the world choose between these two powerful nations? Will global supply chains, which bring us goods every day, change forever?
This situation creates a more uncertain world, where security is a top concern. This new period is not about open friendship. It is about careful steps and competition. The world is becoming more divided. This struggle will affect Taiwan's safety, global trade, and how nations work together for many years to come.
Who do you think holds the stronger hand in this escalating economic conflict, the US or China, and why?
Hey there! Just a second before you go. If you learned something new today, please give this video a like, write your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to the channel. It only takes a second, and it really, really helps to create even better English videos for you. Your support means the world. Thank you.